Good morning, welcome once again to Watching Watches. So I've been sort of in the market for a new diver's watch, and I picked up via Chrono24 an SPB509J1, which is the 1968 recreation limited edition. It's got lots of different names. Anyway, it's the GMT diver, the Prospex SPB509J1. So it arrived in this Seiko sleeve, and for some reason the seller had written on the box, I don't know why, and I can see why. They've presumably got a collection, so they've got a quick way of identifying which watch it is, and then they've decided to sell it. So not ideal to have that written on the outer sleeve, but it's the outer sleeve, it's not the end of the world. Then we have, let's go a bit wider. So we've got the main box, the outer box. We have the booklet with the completed papers, warranty card, etc. So it is a full set item. Now when it arrived, it came really quite badly shook up. I've put everything into this bag now, but all of these links, pins and collars were all over the place, and these collars are notorious for getting lost. You see how small they are, the little thing at the bottom there, they're tiny, there's little tubes. You lose those and then that's it, you can't secure it because the pin is narrower than the holes in the links, and the collar is what grips it. So you can get replacements, but it's just a hassle. And then you have the hang tag, Seiko Prospex SPB509J1, and that's the retail price. I've bought this, as I say, second hand from a private seller on Chrono24. So obviously the first thing that's going to hit you is that dial. The dial is just something else. It's beautiful. It's subtle enough that from a distance you don't really see it. So you're not screaming sort of over flashy dial, but it is a very eye-catching dial. But it can also still be quite subtle in a sort of lesser light. If I turn off my side light and the overhead, like that, you see it's much darker, and the bezel as well is a fair bit darker. In real day terms, it's not as bright as it's showing up in these lights. Anyway, a beautiful ceramic insert on the bezel. Obviously this is a GMT, so you've got the additional gold hand, and then you've got the 24-hour track on the inside. For me, that track is too small. It's hardly legible, and you can't read it. But it's also because it's on the sort of bevel there on the inside of the dial that it kind of gets refracted a little bit by the box edge of the sapphire. So it's a little bit awkward. What they have done, which is quite cool, is if you have a look at the top there, it's 23. The middle is 24, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it turns over. So really and truly that 9 should be upside down, but they turn it over so that it's legible, and then they turn it back again as you get up there. That's quite a neat idea. The date is at the 4:30 position with a dark color background with a white font. That works pretty well. It is quite a busy dial, but for me what makes it the most busy is that GMT hand, and obviously the dial itself. The date is quite inconspicuous, and a lot of people whinge about why Seiko are using this 4:30 position in a lot of their watches. Lots of other brands are doing that nowadays, because obviously, like this, all of the main quarter-hour markers are uninterrupted. You know, if you have it at 3 o'clock, you're losing that marker. If you have it at 6 o'clock, you're losing that marker. So I have seen some watches where they put the date just above the 6 o'clock marker. So it's kind of horses for courses. which design you think is the most sort of simple looking and less, which ones are more unobtrusive, shall we say. But it is a busy dial, so the date is not the issue here. For me, it's the dial itself, and that's why you buy the watch, if you like the dial, and then that GMT hand. For me, I would have been quite happy without the GMT hand, but obviously this watch, it's a limited edition. It's a numbered limited edition. The number is engraved on the back. And these are very, very sought after. They're very hard to get on the secondary market. So there are a couple on Chrono 24. Chrono 24 presents its own pitfalls. And there were a couple with this watch, which I can talk about soon. But if you look on eBay, they've got one there, I think, at the moment, which is at, way over the retail price. And when I did an AI search online to ask the value of this watch, generally speaking, they say it's in or around retail price, even though it's a used watch, as long as it's full set, got the original box and paperwork, and is in reasonably good condition, which this one is. It will retain its value, and I think over time it's going to increase in value. So let's come to the features. So the bracelet is a rounded, it looks like a 3-link, but it's actually a single link. Seiko have been doing that recently, where it really does look like a 3-link bracelet, but it is just 1 link. I'll show that to you in a second. The crown has been redesigned a little bit. In actual fact, let me get you the 127, which is my JDM version, and so we can make comparisons. So this is the SPB509J1. It's the Japanese domestic market. It's the same case, exactly the same case. It's got a more chunky bracelet. It's got the older buckle design with the micro adjust pins there. And you have a look at the crown and also the coin edge on the bezel. So if you have a look at the crown here, it's got a much wider edge, much more grippy. I think it's slightly larger, possibly. And the coin edge has become this more dimpled edge, which I actually think makes it look more and more like the Submariner or the GMT from Rolex. I actually prefer this bezel, I must be honest, and the crown as well. But other than that, the watches are pretty much identical. The case is identical. You've got the Zaratza polish on the side here, and you've got it on this one too. The sizing is exactly the same, even though this one looks bigger, and that's because the bezel is bigger, but the overall diameter is identical. It's the same case. It's exactly the same case. But the bezel is wider on this, so it gives it a much bigger look. Difference on this one, the bezel insert is a steel or aluminium with a special sort of hard-wearing coating on that. It gives it kind of a glossy finish, whereas this one is a ceramic insert. You can see the difference in the bracelet. So the bracelet on this one is more boxy design, and this one is a more rounded design. It's a matter of choice and taste. It's kind of growing on me. Initially, I was even thinking of taking the bracelet off this one and putting it on that. Then you come to the... let me just take this off. You come to the clasp, and that's where things start to hot up. So one of the new features on some of the Seiko watches is this new on-the-fly adjustment. So the great thing about this is that this is a real on-the-fly adjustment. Most watches, let's say Omega, Rolex, Breitling, most of the high-end brands, you have to take the watch off. You open it up, and there's usually some kind of button on the inside that you press and then slide the bracelet in to make it longer or shorter. With this one, you can do it while it's on wrist, and you literally just press this button, and that slides in and out, in and out. And what's good about this one is that you actually don't have to press the button when you're closing it. To open it, you do, obviously to release it, so it wouldn't get loose unless you're pressing the button, but to close it, so when you put it on your wrist, I'm currently wearing my King Seiko, so when you put it on wrist, you can have the thing open and then just get it to exactly where you want it, to what fits you perfectly, and away you go. And that's a good feature. I will say that this whole arrangement is really quite wide. So if you've got a really narrow wrist, it might not be for you. If you've got a reasonable sized wrist, it's okay. But that is certainly something to bear in mind. It does have the trifold, the milled clasp, as you would get from most of the higher end Seiko divers, but I think this is also milled as opposed to this one, which is stamped. So the overall length of it, as I say, is quite long. That's, I would say, one slight negative, and the other slight negative I would say is that there are no permanent micro adjusts. So my wrist size falls in between two links. If I add a link in there, it'll be too big with this fully closed, obviously. If I take out a link, which is where it's at now, it's a fraction too tight. So I need to use this to one spot like that, which is absolutely fine. And the average, it's not going to be visible. Nobody cares about it, but I know about it. But it just means that there's no permanent micro adjust. If there would be some kind of way of adjusting it, have a micro adjust which is permanent, I think that would be good as well. I think they'll probably fine-tune this over the years, with ensuing models. I'm sure they'll fine-tune it. It'll take some years, I'm sure, but it's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. It's certainly a move forward. Obviously, it's got a sleeker look. It's much squarer, much boxier. That sort of is a nice flush finish compared to this one, which is just a little bit less refined. It sits proud of that. It's not flush. So there are certainly some enhancements there. It's a good sleek look. The bracelet, as I say, the rounded links, I wasn't sure in the beginning, but it's actually quite growing on me. It's a little bit sort of Omega-ish. It gives it a bit more of a manly, I think it's a bit more of a manly, assertive kind of look, with those bulky, beefy, rounded links. And as I said, it is a single link. You can see there is one link. The middle bits don't pivot. So that there is the link, and there's no movement there at all. So it is one link, but they put it off very well. It does look like a 3-link bracelet, so you can't really complain with that. The handset. So these are fairly common now with Seiko, with the ones which are a slightly higher tier, and some of the lower tiers as well, I think, where you have half polished and half brushed or sandblasted hands. And what that does, it creates a contrast. So you can see on the minute hand, the left side there is polished, the right side is brushed. And that creates a contrast and just makes it more legible. You have the little pip on the blue pip on the second hand with the white pip. Again, that's quite a common thing now with the Seiko. With this one, it's a traffic light, they call it, traffic light pip. So this one, when I originally got this one, I first off got it's exactly the same watch, but with the Save the Ocean glacier face, that mottled light blue, sort of baby blue face, which was very, very nice. I actually really loved that design. But in the end, I found it to be a little bit too bright for everyday use. It was a little bit too in your face. And there were some issues with the watch itself, which led me to returning it. There were a couple of problems with the watch. One thing I would say, and I'll probably do a separate video of this, with Seiko crowns, I don't know if other brands, I haven't experienced it with other brands, but with Seiko brands, when you undo the screw-in crown, pull it out, you push it back in, and you try to close it, sometimes it seizes like there. It just seizes and it won't go further. What you have to do, whenever you're using a Seiko crown, a screw-in crown, you push it in, and you see there's a little bit of a spring there. You push the spring in and go anti-clockwise first. You feel it engage with the thread and then you turn. You need to do that because these crowns are very precise. Obviously, in order to, this one's 300 meters waterproof as opposed to 200 on this one. So anyway, the thread is very precise in order to create that secure waterproof fitting. So if you approach it even the slightest bit off when you're trying to close it, you know, maybe you twist your hand a little bit and you're not quite true, you could end up possibly stripping the thread. If you keep doing it, eventually you'll strip the thread. So that is something which it's worthwhile getting used to doing. Push in, back till you feel a click downwards, and then that means you've engaged the thread. It's really the same way as you would when you're putting a bolt onto a nut onto a bolt. In order to find the thread, you do go back a bit and then twist it on. It's exactly the same principle. It's a worthwhile process to use to protect the thread of the crown. What else can I talk about? We've got the Zaratsu polishing here. So the Zaratsu polishing is a level of polishing which they usually use on Grand Seiko, but they have started using them for quite a while now on some of the higher tier Seiko watches, and you can just see the difference. I mean, the brushing on it is very, very good as well. But as with anything, this does have the Diashield coating on it. The Diashield is some kind of coating which, I don't know if you noticed, but the color of the stainless steel is somewhat dull. It's not quite as gray as titanium, but it's not as bright as regular stainless steel, because it does have this kind of coating on it, which is some kind of hardening process which protects it from your everyday scratches and dings. It does work to some extent. Obviously it's going to scratch over time. So this one here has the Diashield as well. It is in pretty good nick. I've had this now for quite a while. I don't know if it's a couple of years already, and it's still looking pretty sharp. But there are, of course, some scratches on it, but really nowhere near as much as I would have expected. So it does work to some extent. I would say so. Have a look at the date window here at 3 o'clock. I don't find it disturbs the overall look of the dial, and obviously it doesn't have the GMT, so it doesn't look as busy. It's a much cleaner looking dial, and I think that just having the wave design on the dial alone is more than enough. But obviously if you wanted the GMT function, then that makes sense. And even if you don't, as a collector, having another complication is just another feature on the watch. It just sets it apart from other watches, and I can live with that. But I would have preferred it probably in a non-GMT format. On the back you have it says Divers Watch Seiko, sapphire crystal, and then you've got the out of 6,000. So it's a 6,000 limited edition release worldwide. I don't think you can buy them retail here in the UK anymore. I don't know when the release actually took place, I'll be honest with you. But you can't buy them retail, even though I think Goldsmiths, when you do a search for the code name, it will come up on Watches of Switzerland actually, but they don't have it in stock. Generally speaking, it's available. There's one or two available on eBay, and then the rest, there's literally, I've only managed to find excuse me, I think 3 or 4, a couple on Chrono and a couple on international sites, and they're all holding their value. So that has been the SPB509J1. The official title is the Seiko Prospex 1968 Heritage Diver GMT 60th Anniversary SPB509J1. And it's a ridiculously long title, but Seiko have really been getting into their reimaginations, their re-entries or their reinterpretations, and so many of them. You know, it's marketing at the end of the day, and good on them. If they can sell more watches that way, you know, good for them. You know, there's obviously more and more temptations for collectors, and it's about, you know, really trying to fine-tune what you want your collection to look like. I've recently sold off quite a few watches in order to get this watch. I'm trying to really make my collection much smaller. I have some older ones which I've worn over the years throughout my adult life. Those are not really saleable anymore. They're not worth much. I wasn't really a collector at that point. It was just watches which I'd buy a watch, have it for a few years, and then not exchange it, but then upgrade it or just buy something else, and then wear that for a few years, and then buy another one. I didn't consider myself to be a watch collector as such. In the last year, 18 months, I've kind of been wearing a selection, or let's say a rotation, of Seiko watches. And so I would say that in my core rotation, I've got 4 or 5 watches which I wear, which kind of cover the diver, the dressy. I can give you a quick look actually. Excuse the noises of my chair. Right, so that's the latest one. The jury's out. I haven't made 100% decision whether I'm going to actually keep it. We shall see. So this kind of takes me back to basics. This was kind of in the early days of when I was starting to get into, calling myself a collector. So this is the King Turtle. I got this from John Lewis. They had a 50% sale. It was an awesome price. I couldn't leave it there. Cyclops lens on the date. I could do without it, but there's a few different upgrades on this which set it apart from the other turtles. Ceramic insert, sapphire crystal. For me, those are the 3 main things that I look for. Sapphire crystal, sorry, not 3, 2. Sapphire crystal and ceramic insert. Now, this is a 4-hour movement. The other watches that I'm going to show you are all 6-hour movements. So the 6-hour has a 70-hour power reserve. This has a 42 or thereabouts, 44 maybe, hour power reserve, which is absolutely fine. I do have a watch winder which can take 4 watches. So this is a special edition, not a limited edition. They still make them now. It retails at about 600 or 550 nowadays. I think it's gone down a little bit. But this is a great watch. You can do anything with this watch. It's built like a tank. And if I'm going out for the day or going on vacation and I'm a bit nervous about losing a watch or it being stolen or anything like that, then I'll take this one. It glows beautifully at night. It's obviously got the famous Seiko loom on it. So this is my kind of hard wearing. It's been battered, lots of scratches on it. This is, this was my daily driver until I started to have multiple Seikos, which I wear regularly. Then we have this one, which I probably got next, and this one still gets worn, but if I keep the new one, I probably won't wear this very much. It is in fact up for sale on my eBay page. If anyone's interested, I've got it on my eBay page for $720, but I'm offering it. I sent out an offer on eBay to whoever's watching it for $620. So if you're interested, get in touch. It's fully boxed with a card and everything. So if you're interested, let me know. This retails at $12.50, by the way, so it's half price pretty much. Then I bought, what did I get then? Then I think I bought this one, which is the Sensation. So it's a dress watch, but it's not overly dressy, and it's got some beautiful features on it. The bracelet drapes beautifully because the links are quite small. It's like a Jubilee style bracelet with 3 polished links in the middle, a butterfly clasp. For me, that's pretty much the only weakness on this whole watch. Not the bracelet's fine, it's the clasp. The clasp deploys much too easily. The catch area inside is so small that a slight touch and it pops. I've actually sent this one back to Seiko. I got a new clasp fitted, which they did free, credit to them, but this one is already starting to pop a little bit too easily for me. But this one anyway, curved dial, and the handset is also curved. The hour hand and the second hand are curved. The minute hand obviously is too short, so there's no point in curving it. It's just a beautiful watch. It's a kind of what you would call a Gada watch. Go anywhere, do anything. It's got I think 100 meters of water resistance. It's a regular crown. It's not pull-in. It's not screw-in crown, but it's still got 100 meters of water resistance. So you can pretty much do anything with it. A beautiful signed crown. I love the shape. It's slightly tapered outwards there. Good size crown. I love this watch. Absolutely love this watch. They brought now, in the initial release, there's a salmon color, an ivory color, and this color. They've now brought out a blue. Had they had the blue in the beginning, I would have bought the blue, without a doubt. But I have several blue watches, so now it's not such an issue. Now it's nice to have a grey dial. But I wouldn't rule out ever getting that blue dial. You know, if it came on the market very cheap, you know, I could be tempted, possibly. Then the next one was the King Seiko. So I bought this watch. It took me a while to fall in love with it, but it's a watch which I wear as a dress watch now, more so than the Sensation. So this is the Denim Indigo King Seiko. It's like a 38mm. Again, another very, very comfortable bracelet. Same problem with this thing, it deploys too easily. I sent this one back as well, and they put a new clasp. I sent them both together. They put new clasps on both of them, but they're both sort of releasing still a little bit too quickly. But it's okay, I can live with it. It's got this beautiful, very, very subtle grain on the dial. That's the Denim Indigo. And this, to me, approaches Grand Seiko in its finish. Absolutely stunning watch. It's a 38.3 or 38 point something mil diameter. It's nice and small, it's lightweight. And it's a very sort of vintagey vibe about it, which again, this is a reissue of a very, it's almost identical to the original one, which was probably from the 1960s or 70s, something like that. So that's my sort of main dress watch. It's kind of, for dress, it's between this and the Sensation. And then my most recent purchase is this Seiko Alpinist. This is a boutique edition, so you can't buy this retail. You can only buy it from a Seiko boutique. I mean, it is retail, but you can't buy it in regular outlets. And this one has got this it's called, what is it called? Mystic Forest, the dial is called. And it's got this texture on there. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful watch. And I also like the minute track has got this kind of translucence about it that sort of takes on, it's almost like a mother of pearl, where it takes on, it shimmers and takes on slightly different colors depending on the angle that you do it. It's the original Alpinist style as opposed to the one with the compass, the internal bezel compass, and I prefer this one. It's I've kind of looked at the compass one so many times and always put it down. It just didn't work for me. But this one, as soon as I saw it, I pretty much knew straight away that I wanted it. I got in touch with the boutique and they had a very easy sell. And bought it, and it arrived the next day. A very good service. It's already a little bit scratched. I've been wearing it pretty much non-stop since I got it, and you know, it's not perfect. This one has one micro adjust on it, and it would be cool if it would have half lengths, but it doesn't. I think if it'd have half lengths, it would be, you know, spot on. Good quality bracelet, really nice bracelet. Polished edge there. It does get dusty fairly straight away, so it kind of dulls that polish, but it still catches the light. Very, very nice bracelet, really nice bracelet. But the overall, it's a shame that's not signed. It is a screwed down crown, and this one has 200 meters of water resistance. This original Alpinist, whenever it was originally released, probably in the 60s, I don't remember the exact date, but this was released for, it's called the Alpinist because of it was connected to Japanese mountaineers. It was built for them, hence the name Alpinist, and these are kind of sort of mountain designs. The very latest, the other compass style Alpinist now has the word Alpinist on it, whereas this one is more faithful to the original design. I mean, you know, if you compare this, say, to the King Seiko, this one is quite dressy. It's a little bit bigger, but you do see the difference in finish between that and that is quite marked. I mean, you have to look at it closely, but there is quite a marked difference. But still, this really does put it off. It's a really stunning watch. I'm very, very happy with it. I mean, this here, for instance, that gap, you know, Seiko surely could have done something about that. They could have designed it so that it sits much more closely to the bracelet. But again, these are minor quibbles, and really does not bother me at all. I really do enjoy this watch. For me, sapphire crystal, a date window is very important for me, and if it has a bezel, it's got to be ceramic. Those are, I mentioned before, 3 things. The third one was the date, so I'm very much a date person. I know people say that it spoils, you know, the purists say that it spoils the view of the dial, but I still prefer to have it. Anyway, so that's, we'll come back to the original purpose of this video, which is the SPB509J1. See, I remember it. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think of this watch. And until the next time, I wish you well. I'll catch you on the next one.